Hey everybody, it's GauntletX and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another sealed event of Edge of Eternities. We've got the Arena Direct in exactly 1 week now, so let's get a little bit more practice in with some sealed in between all of our drafts, because that is going to be a competitive sealed event with chances to win some booster boxes. So without further ado, let's just bust open our packs and see what we get to play with today. We opened a lot of rares here. That is pretty wild to get 4 rares off of the bonus sheet. I believe they said the bonus sheet in this set shows up about once in every 9 packs, so that is a tremendous amount of bonus sheet rares. That said, most of these are some constructed oriented lands, cards like Gemstone Caverns that aren't really that exciting in draft and sealed, Nesting Grounds as well, that has like specific synergies for building your deck around, not the greatest in draft and sealed, although you can try to move your charge counters from stuff or move your +1/+1 counters around. Probably still not worth running a colorless land. But as you can see, while we did technically open a whole ton of rares, a lot of them are lands, which aren't that great, but it's still pretty cool to have opened up all of those fancy artworks for the collection. For our rares that might actually matter, what do we have here? We've got an excellent card draw spell out of blue with Consult the Star Charts. Looking at the top X for X number of lands we control. For 2 mana, we put 1 into our hand. For 4 mana, we put 2 of those into our hand, which is really nice. Little miniature dig through time there. Very solid removal spell out of red. For 3 mana, we put this on one of our creatures and deal damage equal to its power to any other target to go ahead and clear out whatever we need. And then when the enchanted creature is dealt damage, our opponent takes that much damage as well. So just a solid little removal spell there. Great finisher with the Mutinous Massacre. 7 mana to steal half of the creatures and blow up the other half. Really, really deadly card. And then honestly, Memorial Vault, I haven't found a bunch of really great ways to use this, and the Eternity Elevator is mana ramp once you're already at 5 mana, and then it's even more ramp once you've made it to 5 mana and 20 charge counters on this spacecraft, so it doesn't really make a lot of sense in sealed. We do have one final good rare, though. The Xenomorph Imago is just a good card for a green-blue deck. Every time you're playing a land, one of your creatures becomes a 3/3 until end of turn, or if you have 6 or more lands, you can make it a 6/6 till end of turn. It's also a little bit flexible. You can use this to make one of your opponent's creatures a 3/3 until end of turn. Say they resolve a big old 6/6 or something, and it's really holding off your ground troops. You could landfall and turn that into a 3/3 if you don't have 6 lands on the board yet, so that's a corner case, but it can matter sometimes. So, despite the massive quantity of rares that we've opened up, I'm not actually that excited about the rares that we've got here. We've got a really good uncommon, Biomech and Engineer, towards green-blue as well, and I do think our Xenomorph is one of our best rares, so there is that. The 2 rares I really like are the Xenomorph Imago and the Mutinous Massacre, but the red removal spell also fine, the blue draw spell also fine. They're just removal and a draw spell, which are kind of inherently not that exciting. So very interested in potentially going green-blue. I think this Biomech and Engineer is an excellent, excellent card. For 2 mana, you get a 2/2 and a lander token, so even if they kill it immediately, you get a miniature 2 for 1 off of it, being able to basically draw into a rampant growth, sack that lander, and grab a land from your deck, put it into play tapped. But if it sticks around, it ramps towards its own excellent 8 mana mana sink that draws you a ton of cards and spits out some robots. So very interested in a potential green-blue deck here if we've got enough cards there. Any fixing here? Nope. There's really not a lot of fixing in the set. The only dual lands are at rare and off of the bonus sheet. We did get 1 Watery Grave, 1 shock land here, but no colorless fixing. So, like 9 out of 10 decks, we want to play a streamlined 2-color strategy unless we're playing a color with a ton of lander tokens, and then we could splash. So if we play green-blue, we can splash around with enough lander token production. And that might be reasonable. Maybe like green-white splash the blue, because Halia is a pretty strong card, but she requires double white, so it's hard to splash in 2 sources of your splashed color. That said, both of our green-blue cards cost only 2 mana, so we really want to have access to both green and blue mana on turn 2 most of the time. which again is a lot harder to do when you're splashing in the color. If I'm splashing in blue, I probably only have 3 or 4 islands. Very unlikely to be casting these on turn 2, so it'd be a hard sell to end up with Halia and both of our green-blue cards in the same deck. They just don't line up super well, but maybe we splash in a different direction for removal spells or something like that. So let's check out all of our colors individually, see what we've got here. White gives us a solid removal spell with Banishing Light, and then some reasonable ones like Focus Fire and Radiant Strike. Starfield Shepherd's a really good value play, and the Sunstar Lightsmith can be fun with a good cheap curve. Our mana curve isn't that cheap, but the double 2-drop, a 1-drop, and a 1-mana removal spell do help it out a bit. White looks perfectly solid, perfectly reasonable. Blue, we've got the excellent draw spell at rare. And then not a whole ton that looks super exciting. It's just a bunch of fine filler. So one excellent card and a bunch of filler just to get enough playables to play blue could still be worth it because of the power of our green-blue rares and uncommons. So we'll definitely keep it in mind, but I think it's a little weaker than our white. There's really no interaction. I mean, we can tap things, and none of these creatures look all that exciting to me. Moving on to the black now, we've got a great removal spell with Grab Kill, an okay one with Embrace Oblivion with some good stuff to sack. So, the non-creature spells are alright. I do like Decode Transmissions and Sealed for some draw. The creatures are really not that good, though. I mean, Hole Carver's been very solid with the amount of beef that's in the set. Just a little Death Toucher's been good. The Monoists are always fine for their mana value. 2/1 flyer, they replace themselves with a ground creature when they die. Perfectly reasonable. Just not super exciting. But I haven't been super impressed by any of the other creatures. I guess Voidborn's probably still pretty good. Color could theoretically do some stuff, but Graveblade Heavy and Swarm Color are super, super filler. Yeah, black looks perfectly fine again, though. Red now, there's that Pain for All for great removal. Cut Propulsion is solid removal. And what else we got? Not very excited about Full Bore, Rig for War, kind of combat tricks. We don't have any colors with an aggressive enough mana curve to really leverage a ton of combat tricks here. It's again a lot of filler creatures. I do like Nebula Dragon and the Mechan, but we don't have a lot of artifacts here, which makes Pangolin pretty filler. War Rager looks pretty slow in here. Turbo Drone, pretty slow. And Actuator has nothing to recast. I've noticed this issue a lot with Actuator. I feel like this card would be pretty incredible in a lot of other sets, but I've found that there are not a lot of great 2 mana value or less instants or sorceries in this set, which makes it really hard to pull off in sealed. You just don't open up enough stuff for it very often. And in draft, the good 1 and 2 mana instants and sorceries are always very, very contested. They're going to get drafted really highly, so I found Actuator to be a pretty massive underperformer, just in that I've like really never been able to run it because I just haven't had enough stuff for it. Yeah, red is looking like one of our worst colors so far. Hopefully green is our best, but we'll see. Green does have a high quantity of creatures here. I'm not very interested in the equipment. Shattered Wings, if we're really low on interaction, we can play. There's a lot of artifacts in the set and a couple enchantment-based removal spells. Yeah, Elite, pretty filler. Might's pretty filler. Galactic Wayfarer is excellent. We awkwardly have no +1/+1 counters to go with the Eulogist. So it's just a 3 mana 3/3 with no abilities. Okay, we have one Drix Fate Maker, and that's it. Anything to go with the Tapestry Warden? I guess worst case scenario, a 4 mana 4/4 Vigilance is not a bad stat line. I have the Pollinator, I guess, gets a tiny bit bigger with the Warden. But, yeah, 4 mana 4/4 Vigilance still kind of filler. Fate Maker's fine, Worm's fine, Colossus is fine. No removal here. I think some of the strongest cards in this entire sealed pool are the gold cards that we have, honestly. The green-blue spells. By quite a lot. But if we play green and blue, we have almost no removal, no interaction here. Could splash into red for cut propulsion and pain for all. Or I can splash into black for grav kill and embrace oblivion. Or I can splash into white for banishing light and radiant strike. So whatever direction I splash, I'm getting 2 spells. I guess if I splash into white, I also get a focus fire. And that requires a lot of stuff on board. I think I want to splash into black because it's the easiest direction to splash, and we don't actually have a ton of Lantern tokens. We have 1 Engineer and 1 Wayfarer, so the mana is going to be real bad for the splash. So I need all the help I can get in terms of keeping my mana base consistent, and Watery Grave is some help towards the black splash here. So I'm thinking green, blue, splash, black. I really didn't like our red, and I don't think our black is that great either, so I don't think we're trying to do Mutinous Massacre. I think we're just trying to get these excellent green-blue cards into the deck, play a bunch of green, a bunch of blue, and a slight dabble into black. So the dabble into black, of course, will be Grav Kill and Embrace Oblivion. And then we'll put all the green and blue in and cut from there. Right, we'll start with the creatures here and cut down to 17 creatures max. This is not a creature, but it's bad in here. I don't think we're going to do a lot of double spelling for the operative. Not a lot of artifact spells for the operator. I do like the cheap Death Toucher, and I love these green-blue cards. I'm going to leave Chrome Companion in for now, but that will definitely be a cut if we're still at like 18 or 19 creatures by the time that I cut all the stuff I really want out of here. For now, it's just like adding another 2-drop so we have some early stuff to do. I don't think this is going to be the kind of deck that likes the Might and the Gale Blade that much. Although I like the Gale Blade better than the Might. These are both for decks that are actually just trying to get to the ground early. Get some early chip damage in. Gale Blade just chips in throughout the game until it gets targeted by removal or road blocked and then cycles itself away, which is nice. Might is just strictly like early damage or like a way to station your spacecraft. But we have no spacecraft that are any good in the whole sealed pool. And we're not going to be that aggressive, so we don't really care about the extra damage either. Yeah, I guess I'll leave Galeblade in, similar to the Companion, probably one of the first cuts. Once we get down to like 18 creatures. But if we get down below that count, cutting only the really bad stuff, then I guess they'll stay in as filler. There's a lot of filler in this set. Like a 3-mana 3/2 Pseudo Vigilance, really whatever. 3-mana 1/4 flyer. I mean, I guess this is like fine for the blue-red artifact kind of decks, but I think the Mechan's really good when you can get its ability to activate, but we don't have any of the combos for it. The most consistent ways to do this are by having a bunch of random lander tokens on board, or if you have some of the artifacts that trigger when they die, that can be good as well. There's like a 2-mana artifact in blue that draws a card when it enters and when it leaves, and you can sacrifice it to the Mechan and it'll trigger, and that's really, really good. We didn't open up a single copy of that common. And we also only have 2 lander token producers, and we're splashing a 3rd color. So we really don't have a lot of stuff we can sacrifice to the mech, and I feel like I probably have to cut it. Technically, yes, I could sacrifice an artifact creature, like a Gene Pollinator or something, but if I'm sacrificing a real card, that's basically like discard a card, draw a card. It's no longer pure card advantage like it is when it sacrifices a token or a expendable artifact. I know I'm supposed to be cutting creatures right now, but this gear is just super bad. So I'll put that on the chopping block as well. I'm noticing a little bit of an issue here, which is that I have 6 cards I want to cut currently, And if I cut all of those, then that is everything that I can cut. Then this is a 40 card deck. There's a lot of stuff that's still really filler that I still really want to cut. This deck is looking real bad then if I have to run all this. Not super happy then. This is 15 creatures though, so that's a fine, reasonable creature count, creature spell ratio in general. It looks so mid. But truthfully, is there anything much better we can do here? Like, what could I possibly put back in? Just more tremendously filler creatures? I'm just cutting super filler stuff for super filler stuff. This is very likely the build if we go Sultai, if we go green, blue, and black. This is woefully mid. So I'm going to save it there and actually take a look at some other color pairs, because as much as I like the Engineer and the Imago, the amount of super mediocre cards in the deck, mainly just a bunch of mediocre creatures, but even like a couple of random equipment just to fill out the 40 cards, was really high. So there's a huge disparity in card quality between the best cards and the worst cards in that deck. We might be able to play something more consistent in some other color pair. We could go for a good curve with a white deck here. Maybe play the green-white uncommon. The Shepherd's also a great card. There's such filler in the blue. I have lost my train of thought, but I do not like this blue very much. Let's move on. Nor the black. Man, green has a high quantity of cards. I feel like green-white aggressive curve-outs is the alternate strategy that we could try, and that's about it. Green-blue or green-white here. The sealed pool does not feel super deep. I guess all of those rares actually come back to bite us. It means a lot of our cards that could have been more spells ended up being lands. It's 4 lands instead of spells in the end here. Be pretty awkward. Wow, there's such little removal here, but now we have 1 lander token producer and 1 pollinator. We cannot really splash if we go this direction. Yeah, I mean, this has potential curves to it. Which is interesting. Play this. Hyper curve out green white. I don't know what is going on with the suggested basic lands, but I think this would be the build. Still plenty of filler, but when you have like a really good curve of creatures to try to be somewhat aggressive, the filler can punch above its weight class. And it's not an insane amount of filler. Most of the filler here is at the early mana values. Like a 2 mana 2/1, 2 mana 2/2 with just a little ability. But that's where it's super okay to have filler in aggressive strategies. Once we get to these like 3 mana and up cards, most of these are actually quite reasonable when we're in green and white together. I actually weirdly think I prefer this to the green-blue deck. Yeah, I'm going to go for it. I'm just going to go for a more consistent strategy here. Even if it is certainly less bomby. Although we didn't really have... We have 1 bomb. It's a red-black bomb. Our red-black deck would not look good. But there's less like really high power cards, but these cards work together better for a more consistent deck, more consistent draws overall. So... I'll take it. Some mid green-white stuff. Pretty mid sealed pool all around. after looking at it. But we'll see how far it can take us as we hop into the gameplay. Alright, here we are for game number 1 with a very solid opening hand. Multiple one-drop plays. We can even ramp into the Eulogist if we don't naturally hit our third land. We only need one land to be able to cast the whole hand as well. So this looks very solid. Alright, we immediately top deck another land. You'll love to see it. There's Plasma Bolts on our Mana Dork. Sad day. Full Jund from our opponent, green, red, and black. There's a Turbo Drone, so any creatures they play will be +1/+1 and hasty. It's also a 2/3 body to hold off our Starfighter pilot. There's Ice Cave Crasher, so 5/5 trample haste here. That's pretty nasty. Not going to trade 2 creatures into that. Certainly not having a good time here. Come on, mana. There's the mana. So I know I can double spell next turn, which means I can lead with the Tapestry Warden, then Lightsmith plus Might next turn, get a trigger, draw a card. This makes it so they don't have a window to use any sorcery speed removal on Lightsmith before we draw off of it. Oh god. Turbo droning in a Warped Worm here for just a massive amount of damage. It's the best I've ever seen Turbo Drone be. Down to 8. There's the Scrap Bot. Okay. Draw a card and have to hold up some blocks here. So they're just gonna tap out and have a 6/6 haste this turn. Guess I could just trump with the Might. Fate Maker. Put a counter on a creature. Each creature controls a counter on it has trample. And that is pretty good with Eulogist, and it lets me double spell by being a 2-mana play with Warp. Sure, we'll keep that. Yeah, here comes the 6/6. Could double block there. That wouldn't be awful. We'd lose Lightsmith, draw a card off Eulogist. They have 7 power on their board. If I only hold up one blocker here. As I go to 1 life against removal if I send in 2 creatures there. Okay. Siege Ship, we're at 4 life, so that's pretty scary. I'll probably have to shatter that. Oh yeah, plus they have the second Turbo Drone for haste. Yeah, I will absolutely have to shatter that, but the triggered ability doesn't matter, at least. 5. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. We are nowhere near full to them. If they draw another flyer, I'm quite dead. Because they just haste it out. Warp this, I get to double spell and get a counter on the board. And there's the next planes for Halia. I can't really attack with anybody. They have 3 attackers. All of them hit me for 2. At least. I mean, the +1/+1 counter synergy is kind of popping off, but all that turbo drone haste damage has pressured us greatly here. So this is going to be all up to our opponent's draws. If they draw even just one really solid spell, will die, but especially if they hit like 2 in a row. But if they hit just 1 or 2 lands in a row, then they're dead. And their first draw was indeed a very solid draw. Yeah, I mean, I have to block both of these. That's so bad. At least killing the elite means it is not going to go into exile after this. So they will put all its counters on a turbo drone, but then they won't be casting the other half of it. Shame to draw that right after that, now that there's an 8 toughness creature on the board. Yikes. 7 mana total. Need a single white for Focus Fire. Do a 4 power Broodguard Elite. Move its counters over after a chump block. We can do a 4 mana Fate Maker and Crack-a-Lander and Focus Fire. We'll see if they top deck twice in a row or if they hit a land here. Okay, that's fine. They did hit 2 spells in a row, but that one's small enough for Focus Fire. Kali allows us to draw a card off of this combat. 2 blockers up for 2 chumps. Hit them for 6 to have their life total and have them dead in 1 swing. In worst case scenario, I can play 2 1/1s now as blockers. Broodguard Elite and Starport Security. Fortunately, I did not have enough white mana to cast both of these since I had to spend double white on Halia. So we're dead to evasion, trample or flying. But if they don't have that, I think we've got them now. And there's the concession from our opponent. Incredibly close game of Magic to start us off, but we start off 1-0 heading into game 2. Alright, here we are on the play for game 2. Got a bunch of removal in the hand. Just chilling with one might until we get the Lightsmith. See if we can't get some double spelling, get some card draw going. All depends on what we draw. Not a terrible draw. Not a relevant turn 3 play. Umbral Caller Zealot is quite a good card. Could be worth just banishing it immediately, but I'm gonna get the Double Striker down. Synergizes really well with anything that buffs it up, and a Might certainly does. Fire Beetle is definitely frustrating. We will ditch the Radiant Strike as the less efficient removal. I'll certainly want the Lightsmith to try to get some card advantage back here. And the Beetle is particularly disappointing for us as well because it stops the Might attacks even if I'm banishing Light here. See if we can't hit a 1 or 2 mana spell for next turn. I gotta go through and update my cosmetics. Feels weird still having Cloud on my sleeves and a Moogle just sitting here. We updated the basics, but that's all I remembered to do. Depressurize the Lightsmith, that's depressing. And the Thoughtseize for banishing Light. Good draw is good. If they want to block the Might, take 8, and lose their Virus Beetle without killing anything, they are more than welcome to. But if they just block the Double Striker, we'll cast the Germinating Worm. Get blown up by some kind of instant speed removal. Literally nothing else to do with this mana, so them waiting to use an instant doesn't really quote-unquote get me here. I had nothing else to do anyway. Warm Kohler. It's actually a pretty juicy draw. Is it worth chump attacking with Might to make Worm attack as a 6/6? That way a double block I still kill both? Because currently if I attack with Worm, I only kill one of their 2 creatures. Maybe with the flying equipment coming up, I just cast and pass. As much as I want to keep pressure on them, that feels better. Because I don't like trading my 5/5 down, but I also don't like the idea of... I mean, I don't know. I guess if I attack with the germinating worm and the hemosymbic might, I'm essentially trading the might into one of their 2 creatures. Because by making the worm a 6/6, they have to chump it or take 6. I mean, they could double block it and then take 1 from the might. I feel like their play in response to that would be like block and kill the might with 1 creature and then just chump the other. Also depends on what's in their hand here. If they had any cheap instance, it would be pretty bad for me, like the depressurize. That is a really, really solid draw. Focus fire, actually incredible. A dirge craft from our opponent to kill the might. Set up a big flyer. Station cost of 7 though, and they're not in a great position to station it. So they have to tap some blockers. Would not be ideal. Grab Pack Monoist. 3 attackers against 2 blockers. Let's go for it. Well, they've got an instant here. They go blow up the worm, block the 2/2 with a 2/4, pen with a 2/1. Instant speed removal is bad enough for me here to just send in worm, I think. And here it is. Bombard. Yeah, that would have been... Actually, not the total end of the world, since it wasn't big enough removal to kill the worm. But we definitely did not have lethal. They miss on this... Okay, I was going to say if they miss on this draw step, they could sacrifice the Dirge Craft with the Kohler there. Dig one last time for more removal, but they are over it. A concession from our opponent gives us the second victory. We are 2-0. Doing pretty well so far. Alright, here we are on the play for game number 3. This is a mono white hand, which is definitely a bit sketchy, but we have some surveilling going on with our pilot to look for the green sources, and while our elite is technically double green, that warp cost only requires a single green, so if we can get to one forest off of Starfighter Pilot, we will be golden for a long time. And now we have a great combo for Broodguard Elite. If we can load up a bunch of +1/+1 counters onto a double striker, that can get absurd amounts of damage in very quickly. Our opponent getting some good value here with Starfield Shepherd, immediately drawing another 1-drop, then they get to permanently play that Angel and pick up another land or 1-drop later. Definitely mill anything that isn't a forest on our surveils, as we've drawn a third green spell. Oh boy, so I need to wait till 5 mana to activate the Adept ability. So we drop a companion and pass. This is a 9 forest deck, so we have more forests than plains, now by a high margin. And there it is. Monoist is the play from our opponent that turn. Monoist and Starport Security. 3, 6 power over there. If I make Adepts a 3 power first striker, and first strike away Coordinator, but then it takes 3 from the other 3. So I need 2 more counters on the Adepts to actually get it attacking in right now. I don't really want to put all my eggs in one basket, especially off against Black-White, but the Elite will be warped. It'll be in exile so I can cast later, so it's not like spending a full-on card at least. Yeah, I'm gonna go for it. And then if they just don't have big enough removal in the opener, Adepts is just going to shred them here. And if they do, then that's fine. I didn't really spend like a full card. I can still just cast the Elite later. I did spend a full turn and 5 mana though, so it wouldn't be great. That's for sure, but it wouldn't be the end of the game. Alright. Depressing. But again, not the end of the world. Take a couple damage in the sky. This thing looks like it has reach, but it does not. So that's a little awkward. I think we just cast that here. We can warp the Fate Maker for 2, which means if I draw any land in the deck, we can double spell Lightsmith and a warped Fate Maker to draw a card next turn. Our opponent is going to Value Town sometime soon. They have the mana for their Shepherd, and now that they don't have any pressure on them, they could just drop that down, but Servondum is also absolutely filthy, making every attacker a trade. That said, their attacks aren't actually that much better with Vondum down. Monomist was already unblockable, Security still just trades into Companion. It's only the Coordinator that gets a particularly significant buff from that. But it is a significant buff, because the only way I kill it now is by blocking with Warden and losing Warden. If I lose Warden, I don't have a good blocker for the 4/4 lifelinker that buffs the whole board each turn, so I don't think I can afford to block the Coordinator. Well, at least it is a cheap enough spell to draw the card off of Lightsmith. They have the 1 mana. Focus Fire has been absolutely insane in this set. We were talking about that earlier on our side of the table, how good that card was. Was brutal there against us. Now we're gonna get combat tricked. Rough. And there's a lot of cards that look like they might have Hidden Reach that don't in this set, like Warden and Pollinator. It's the kind of cards that have had Reach in the past. Like there was a Sylvan Caryatid kind of thingy that like tapped another creature. It wasn't Caryatid, that's a completely different card, but something weird, some kind of Dryad or something. And then here's that Shepherd. Get them some additional value here. Luckily, they did not open multiple 1-drops in their sealed pool for it, so just picks up a land this time. Dang. Yeah, we just are really lacking on the reach front here. So I think we're pretty dead. If I don't find a way to deal with Monoist, I'm just dead, so Helia doesn't work. We mill anything that isn't something to deal with the Monoist. If they kill either of our creatures pre-combat, I'm dead for tapping out the Elite. But if they don't, then it's better to have had put all the counters on it. Alright, my final draw step. To find a way to deal with that flyer. Yikes. The reanimation spell as well to get the Shepherd back. Now I have to deal with 2 flyers, and there are no board wipes in this deck. The Plains is certainly not going to do it. 2-1, our first loss of the sealed event. Yeah, not a horrific game there. We probably could have had a better shot if I didn't go all in on the Dual Sun Adepts, but I think we probably lose either way. I don't think we end up like in a lead at any point there without having gone for that. Just going for like the wider board instead. Still, I think the big turning point of this game was that the Servandum there just forced through so much damage that when the dust settled and I had dealt with that and their other stuff, I'm just taking so much in the sky that it's only a few turns from death without a bunch of ways to stop the flying damage. We just did not have a bunch of ways, unfortunately. Monoist certainly there. MVP outside of Servandum, though. That, I think, did at least like half our life total. We are 2-1 heading to game 4. Pretty similar hand here now for game number 4, where we are stuck on just white, but again, much like last game, I will mention that we have 9 forests and 8 plains, meaning that now our deck is 9 forests and 5 plains left. So almost twice as many forests left that we could top deck. I get to surveil with the pilot. I have a good play for turn 2, turn 3. We can warp on 4 and then cast this on 5. I have plenty of plays without the green mana. It's just only a good curve if I get the green mana. I'm gonna keep this. If I get the green mana, I get to go Pilot into Wayfarer into double spell both these 2s on turn 4. It is important to mention, something I completely forgot, important to consider as well, that we are on the draw here, which does make it harder for Starfighter Pilot to surveil, because by the time I get to declare an attack with it, they'll have had 3 mana up, so like they could play 3 mana 3/3s in almost any color. 3 mana 2/3s at worst, if they have one in hand. Luckily, they don't, so we will be getting to surveil to dig for the right colors of lands. So let's send in our first pilot. Find the forest, keep that on top for sure. More than happy to trade into the Hole Carver, so that doesn't trade into anything better later in the game. I think I'm just gonna warp the Shepherd here. I do like playing to the board. Yeah, let's play to the board, and the next turn we can go like Warp Shepherd, play a companion. I don't think I'm gonna want a Lightsmith until I have like 6 mana. I can play Lightsmith and a second spell in the same turn. There's tons of removal in this set, and our opponent's on black and red, which are 2 removal heavy colors. I don't know, like green, blue, or something. Where I would be less concerned about removal. Yeah, let's go, let's Shepherd first, before I surveil. Oh, nice. I forgot we had 3 different 1-drops in this deck. That's so sick. So, turn 5, I can just play Lightsmith and a 1-drop, whichever one I want. Security might be best here. I'm only going to have 1 creature with a counter on it, but I can still tap things with it without a creature with a counter. I think it's late enough in the game it'll be really hard for Might to attack and help anybody else get bigger. It's certainly late enough I don't need the Pollinator mana that badly. Shattered Wings. Can kill the Sweeper if nothing else. This is a really good Starfield Shepherd deck. That is so wild. We have 3 1-drops for it, so we're at pretty good odds anytime we draw it to pick up 2 different creatures off it. The only way we don't is if we've drawn 2 of our 1-drops before we play it. That's really sad. I have to sack the cute little doggy. We are the absolute villains. We are the monsters. Don't mind that draw with the Lightsmith here. Make it really easy to double spell next turn if they don't kill Lightsmith. The only way that this would be a bad card to draw into is if I top deck, if it's both of the 1-drops like right on top of each other here, and I draw the other one before I cast the Shepherd, but that feels really unlikely. Alright. They kill the Lightsmith, so no double spell value anymore. If I don't care about double spelling, let's just play the biggest threat and get the worm down. I don't hate drawing land 6, actually. Like, sure, I don't get any bonus abilities or anything by casting 2 spells in 1 turn next turn, but being able to play the Shepherd and the little 1/1 that buffs people that it tutors for, being able to play multiple creatures in 1 turn is just going to be inherently advantageous, making our board wider instead of just playing 1 threat that turn. The station wombo combo loop is hitting the battlefield. Some poor luck on the Vestige, though. They drew a card and just put a basic into play tapped, I believe. Oh, no, it's in the end step that they put into play. Never mind. No poor luck on that. They had a 5-drop for it. I just forgot the sequence that it goes in. They're at 11 life. I can hit for 8 on board if I kill the sweeper, but I think I would rather kill the Dirge Craft because it's a much bigger deal later. So we can play the Wayfarer and the Shattered Wings here then. Kill the 2/2 flyer, put them to 6. Kill the Dirge Craft. Surveil again. Ooh, indestructible, sure. Still get my Surveil. Ditch some of this flood we're getting. Goodbye, lands. Grab kill is nasty here. They were really only like one more removal spell from stabilizing with a card like the Vestige here, 2-for-1ing us. And the Dirge Craft was a 2-for-1. They are swinging the game around in their favor here. Certainly have the card advantage now. They're getting ahead on board. Obviously, life totals, they're pretty far behind, 21-6, but if you get really far ahead on board or in cards, you can still turn that game around, turn that ship around, and turn those life totals around very quickly, and things are starting to run away from us here. Wish I had a creature with a +1/+1 counter on it. I would need 8 mana. Oh wait, no, I don't need 8 mana. I can tap one of these during their end step and then untap and tap another during my turn. But I need another threat on board, or I'm just hitting for 3 when I do that. So I can't quite do the thing yet. Oh my god, I played that wrong. That's embarrassing. I could have played both of these 1-mana creatures here. I played the plains first and tapped all white mana. I don't think it'll matter, because they're going to have a 4/3, a 5/6, and a 7/5 up on blocks. So even with both these on the board, I couldn't attack there. Especially if they kill security. Yeah, so it doesn't really end up mattering, but that was obviously worse than having the wider board. Whoa. Okay, maybe it actually does matter a little. Bold attack. If I chump attack with this might, sends in as a 4/3 flyer. Kill the sweeper, or hit them down to 2. Here's where not playing the Pollinator matters a lot. It changes the course of this game. I don't think we could actually get 4 damage in if I had played Pollinator, but they couldn't have attacked like this if I played Pollinator, because then I could use Pollinator to tap the might to not have to attack with it to get past the sweeper, or force the chump with the sweeper. So had I played Pollinator, we would have taken less damage last turn, because then they couldn't make this attack. So that's where it does come back to bite us a bit for sure. Not gonna be good enough. It's something like Banishing Light. And even that might not be good enough. Looks like they found more removal off the top. Yeah, they certainly did. Yikes. We still find a plains. Alright, well. Technically not dead yet, but there's nothing in my deck that turns this around from here. And we're at 1 on board. Alright, rough stuff there. But they had the good card advantage plays and tons of removal to turn the game around in the late game. And we could not find the follow through. We just do not have much removal in this sealed pool. So we could not push through their stabilizing creatures there for those last couple points of damage. This is the 3rd game in a row. Arena's just going to shove me with these mono white hands. Pretty frustrating. But Pilot has been there every time, at least, to dig for that forest if they don't kill him. Well, perks of being on the draw, we don't get to attack with our 2-mana 2/2. Because by the time Summoning Sickness is out of here, they get their 3-mana 2/3s. All Fate's Scroll. Some ramp there. 1 land drop away from getting in with Adept's ability. This card's terrifying. They can have 2 tapped permanents. It can do some really strong things. And I guess permanence is specifically just creatures, but... just stop the trooper from triggering here. Now I've got free reign to attack with my Pilot. Oh, and we draw Radiant Strike. Maybe the best draw on the deck there. Second to a forest, but close to the best draw. Kill that while it's tapped. So even if they try to hold it up as a blocker, it's dead. No, another gigantic blocker. Grixis from our opponent. There's an island. They already had the All Fate Scroll, so they already had access to any color. But now they have it naturally out of their lands. Reanimation on the trooper. Pass the turn. Here's our boosters. This is our green source now. I'm not going to be able to double spell for a million years because I need double green. Probably Thawbringer, I imagine. Well, I lied. I will be able to double spell next turn. Although they'll have to play something I can actually kill with Shattered Wings. Oh, you know what I just remembered? This can stop people from reanimating stuff if I have the mana up for it. If I had the mana up when I cast the Scrounge for Eternity, I could have stopped that. I don't remember if I did. Hopefully I didn't, but that might have been a punt. Could have changed things a lot if I did. I completely forgot about that. So here's some kind of instant speed removal they're going to try to use to blow me out and kill like 3 of my creatures. So let us kill the Trooper. The issue here is that if I double block, it's going to be really bad if they have an instant speed removal spell to kill one of my creatures, or if they have the combat trick that gives indestructible, and either of those could be a common. If I triple block, it's going to be fine if they have instant speed removal, but then it's still going to be really bad if they have the combat trick that gives indestructible. So I'm really kind of doomed to any interaction from our opponent. But technically, a triple block is worse against less card types. They have enough cards in hand. They're not going to want to draw off of the Troopers, so we try to kill the thicker one. But then instant speed removal kills this, and I can't kill it with just these two. I'd have to block with, like, everybody. Oh, boy. Any 2 of these creatures can kill the Trooper. And then I don't have to put my entire board at risk like I would to the Warden. Still a good chunk of it, though. Okay. So that Bombard didn't actually do anything. Surprised they did that instead of bombarding the Lightsmith at that point. Because they were already just going to kill 2 of my cards. Crazy. Let's double spell and draw a card here. Thankfully they did play an artifact. Let's not draw planes. If I warp the Fate Maker, then I could have a chance of double spelling again next turn more easily. But I have less on my board right now, but it's probably fine because all I need right now is to chump block a Skywarden. So we'll save it by doing the warp. So now I can double spell with Wayfarer and Fate Maker next turn. Actually might not chump next turn. Might just take a chunk of damage here. I'll be at 15, take 7, take 9, 15, take 9, go to 6. I mean, they have no trample over there. So be it. What if they have another one of the guys that cares about having 2 creatures tapped? Oh, they do. It's the little one, though. It's the one that just gets counters instead of drawing more cards. I don't think the game's going to go long enough for us to be redrawing stuff, but I am going to shuffle my deck with that Wayfarer. We've already seen 1 reanimation spell from them. The odds of them having more aren't like super likely. This is sealed, not drafts. It's not like they drafted some kind of reanimation combo. So seeing 1 piece of graveyard recursion does not imply more like it does in draft. I think I'm shuffling in our best card, is what I'm doing here. Which is probably Radiant Strike now, because that can kill Sky Warden. And technically it's not shuffling it in immediately. It's shuffling once I use the lander token. So now I could have a Eulogist so my chump blocks draw me cards. If I chump block with the right creature, that's the problem. I don't really want to chump block with Companion, because I get to keep putting things in there. I could chump with Fate Maker by putting the counter on itself and then play Eulogist. Yeah, we don't really care about the trample right now. We're just trying to buy as much time as we can to do Companion loop type stuff. And Lightsmith card draw stuff. I mean, they are at 12, so the trample is not insignificant. Now they're at 7. This is quite close. We had some really sketchy mana starting this game off, but as behind as I've felt these last several turns, pretty close on board. Unless it was 2 removal spells in hand there. In which case we're still not dead. It'd have to be triple removal to kill us here. Alright, they do force me to chump with the creature I didn't want to chump with, which is disappointing. But manageable. They could have the Plasma Bolt. I think I lose to Plasma Bolt no matter how I play it. Right, because it's block here, Void is triggered, and they shoot me for 3 with Plasma Bolt. If I block there and chump there... I just don't have good enough counterattacks. It's 5 mana for these. I would need 8. If I top deck a land, I could equip for flying and get a +1/+1 counter and hit them for exactly 7 in the sky and they're dead. So if I chump, I play around Plasma Bolt. If I top deck a basic, I kill them and win. But if it's anything other than Plasma Bolt, if it's not a way to deal another 3 damage to me, then it's a lot better not to chump this. We haven't seen any Plasma Bolts from them yet, though, and I feel like if they opened any, they're running them. I'm going to play around Plasma Bolt. Grab Blade Heavy. Oh my god. Do you have the removal? They do. They have an instant. What a bummer. Alright. So close, but their final card's an instant, so they're just going to interact with Lightsmith and not die. And then I will die on the Crackback. Unless they're in full control mode. I don't see any activated abilities on their board. They're in full control mode, okay? Oh my god. We actually do win that. Wow. What a close game of Magic there. Certainly a nail biter, but it keeps us in the running here at 3-2 for at least a 50-50 record with this deck. Average record for an average deck, but just a little bit of decent synergies and some decent plays have kept us in the running here. 3-2 heading into game number 6. Alright, here we are for game 6. Our first multicolored hand in a little while. We have the Might and the Double Striker combo. We also have the +1/+1 counters from the Elite to combo with the Adepts. If the Adepts doesn't die, they're going to be really strong, but that is kind of a hard sell in this set. There's a lot of good removal spells at very low rarities. So we kind of expect it to die. We are on the draw here again. They have no 2-drop. So while we're technically on the draw, it'll feel a little bit like we're on the play in terms of the tempo of the game for now. Although our early plays are a couple 1/1s, it's not going to be that scary. Our opponent does depressurize our Might, so we will not be able to get that double strike combo. And I imagine they have removal for this Adepts as well, seeing as they haven't played anything turn 2 or turn 3. It's probably cheap removal. Double depressurize. That is some excellent interaction out of black in their sealed pool. The duplicates go pretty hard here. Okay. Play Companion and pick up a Plains to know that I can hard cast the Shepherd next turn, and when I do, then we'll pick up the Pollinator. Land Seeker off of the Pollinator for our opponent. They are Jund. Now that they have that Lander token, they will be able to get whatever colors they need. There's Tanook to draw an extra card every time they landfall twice in one turn, and that is going to start right now. Thanks to the landfall tokens, the lander tokens. Second green source is a great draw here. So we're going to banish Tanook. Stop them from drawing off of that, and then we're probably just dropping Thawbringer for the biggest threat we can play right now. Also sets up our next draw. Make sure we don't flood. That's some flood. Circuit Feeder is an excellent card. 4/4 flyer plus kill my 3/2 flyer when it enters. And they get some extra damage out of it. Brutal stuff. Great 2-for-1. Well, they're going to kill the Thawbringer. Interesting. Okay. Boosters and a Pollinator and a pass. Oh my god. That's so strong. Double Circuit Feeder. Wild stuff. Yeah, I'm so dead in the sky. Gotta try to get our flyer to be bigger than theirs so they can't attack. But we will crumble to a removal spell. But after that, after a little bit longer, I get to play this Wayfarer and then booster onto that. No shot they have 2 mana removal again. Wow. 3 2-mana instant speed removal spells and 2 4/4 flyers that came with a removal spell this game. That is just going to be really hard to beat in general. Okay, and then Bomber. Every time they play a land, they turn somebody into a 6/6, so here comes a 6/6 Circuit Feeder and a 4/4. No reach, no flying. I can have 1 single blocker with auxiliary boosters. I can't even, like, have a blocker and tap somebody. I can literally only have 1 blocker. So I'm dead to them just playing 1 land. Making a blocker is just making a chump blocker anyway, so I think it's better to try to tap somebody instead. If I can do that. Alright, land post plunge makes me dead because lander token. So anyway I play that, I'm super dead there. Yeah, that was just an incredible deck from our opponent. We are going to get outclassed pretty hard by card quality decks like that are just based around pure card quality, shove all the best stuff in the deck. Because we did not have a whole lot of best stuff. We are a raw synergy deck with just a bit of synergy. Very, very mid sealed pool here, and we get a mid record for it at 3-3, but I think it still played pretty respectively. I think those losses were to be expected based on what we played against or how we drew, depending on which games they were. Yeah, did not like this sealed pool at all going in. I'm happy to at least get a 3-3 with it. I think that's probably where this sealed pool lies in general. Just a little bit of interaction, a little bit of synergy. It lined up better than I thought it did in terms of how it played out. But it didn't get like a particularly great record or anything for it. It just got this nice little average record that I think it would get on average. Yeah, I think the only other ways to go were green-blue play a bunch of really bad cards, basically. Because we couldn't even do what our opponent there was doing, which is to try to, like, play a bunch of lander tokens to play a bunch of colors and play all of your best stuff. Because our only splashable quote-unquote best stuff is a little bit of removal, and in terms of lander tokens in the entire sealed pool, there are 2. So it was an awkward sealed pool, to be certain. I think scrapping into a 3-3 is about what you can expect out of this run. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.